Hi everybody and welcome back. We are moving forward by learning new modify tools. So first up is going to be the fillet and chamfer commands. So back in my day, my instructors called the fillet command fillet. I don't know if they were thinking the word was French or not, but now it's stuck in my brain and it's probably going to be stuck in your brains too. And you're probably going to be made fun of if you ever call it fillet instead of fillet by fellow CAD geeks. So the correct term is probably fillet. But you know, I feel sometimes CAD just works better when you speak to it with a French accent. So please feel free to do the same. Fillet and chamfer are located in the same button area, and fillet is the default button that shows, and chamfer you can find if you use that little arrow right next to the fillet button. So let's get started by actually drawing two lines that touch each other at 90-degree angles. So I'm just going to draw something on the screen, kind of something similar to this, just to give us something that we can demonstrate with. Now the difference between fillet and chamfer are actually quite simple. Fillet is going to round the corner of these two lines where they touch each other. I always think of filet mignon steak, kind of fillet, get it? Very round, very yummy. Chamfer is similar, but creates a straight diagonal corner instead of a rounded corner. So let's go ahead and try the fillet first. So you can either click the button or type F for fillet. Currently, dynamic input is asking us to select the first object. Don't do that yet. Fillet is a little different than most of the commands that we've worked with so far. When you first activate that fillet button, it defaults it to a radius of 0. So if you try to do something now, like if we click the first object, we click the second object, nothing happened. What the heck? This is one command where you have to tell AutoCAD what size you want to use first and then follow the dynamic input. It's a little tricky of a command. I kind of feel like they should have named it Loki because it's a bit of a trickster command, you know what I'm saying? So let's tell this command how big we want that rounded corner to be. So let's start it again, F, enter. Down in the command bar, you should see that there are some options. So let's go ahead and type R for radius. Now the higher the number you choose, the larger that rounded corner will be, and the smaller the number, the smaller that rounded edge will be. So let's just do 6 inches. So I'm going to type 6, enter. Now we can follow dynamic input. Go ahead and click on that first object. Go ahead and click on that second. But actually I'm going to hover my mouse first. Do you see how it previews what it's going to look like? I love that AutoCAD gives us a preview. If you like what you see, click to make it stick. That was pretty easy, right? Let's do it again, a little bit more quicker. Control Z. I'm going to go ahead and click the button up here. Remember that this command we have to choose a radius. So let's type R for radius. Let's go bigger. Let's do 1'6". Enter. Click the first object. Click the second. And actually, do you see how much wider that got? Go ahead and click to make it stick. And then if you click on that curved surface, it's actually just an arc. So what you're seeing is those grips are 1'6" away from this center grip right here. Now that's all I have to show you to get rounded corners, but I do want to show you a quick and easy trick that I use to help me create walls in floor plans. And believe it or not, we're going to use fillet at a 0 radius. Let's get some lines up before we do anything further. So I'm going to draw a line. Let's have this guy here. Let's do something like this. And then something kind of like that. So sometimes when you're drawing, you have gaps or you've overshot the lines. So if you use radius 0 on your fillet, let's go ahead and do that. F for fillet, R for radius. Make sure it's set to 0, enter. Now we can just click on the first object, click on the second object, and it goes ahead and basically trims it up. Could I have used trim? Yes. Could I use extend here if I wanted to? Yes. But if I just want this line and this line to be connected at a 90-degree angle, I can hit the space bar, click the first object, click the second object, and it automatically goes. I just find fillet at radius 0 really super quick and easy to make 90-degree angles if needed. So feel free to practice that as you go. It's not wrong to use trim. It's not wrong to use extend, but I just find that certain commands just work with me a certain way. It could work different for you, but I just want to show you the possibilities. And with that, we're going to move on to chamfer. Chamfer is a bit different from fillet as we have two distances to enter instead of a single radius. So to get things started, let's draw a couple lines similar to our previous example, something that kind of gives us a 90-degree corner that makes it easy to see. So this time, instead of doing a rounded corner, chamfer makes that diagonal straight line. You can start the chamfer command up in the ribbon, or you can type CHA, enter, using dynamic input. So just like the fillet command, if we do what dynamic input says and go ahead and choose the first line and choose the second line, nothing happens. And that's because AutoCAD defaults the command to 0. So instead, let's go ahead and start the chamfer command again. Enter, and then I'm going to look to the command bar for all the options that I have available. So let's go ahead and type D for distance because D is the letter that's highlighted in blue. D, enter. And we will need to enter two distances. So again, the distances are going to represent how far down from this corner that we go to actually start that dynamic line. So let's enter that first distance. Let's do 3 inches. 3, enter. And then let's add the second distance. Let's do 7 inches. Enter. Now dynamic input has stored that information and it's ready for us to tell it which line is which. So it's kind of up to you to decide which line is going to be the first line, but whichever one is the first line, it's going to match that first distance of 3 inches. So let's click this line. And then let's hover our mouse over the second line. Do you see how it kind of previews what it looks like? It's kind of tiny right now. I must be zoomed out a little bit. But if you like what you see, after looking at the ghosted preview, go ahead and click to make it stick. And let's zoom in a little bit. So what happened is AutoCAD went from that original corner down 3 inches and started that diagonal line. And then from that same corner, it went over to the right 7 inches to end that line. So let's demo this all over again just to make sure that you have it down. I'm going to Control Z until we get that corner back. Let's choose the chamfer command up in the ribbon. Let's type D for distance. Let's do a little bit bigger so it's a little bit more dramatic. Let's do 1'6", enter. Let's do 1'6" again, why not? Let's make it perfectly diagonal, enter. Choose which one's going to be your first line. Choose or hover over that second line to see what it's going to look like. And then if you like it, you click it to make it stick. So just like fillet, it's just not doing a rounded corner, it's doing like a straight diagonal corner. That's all I have to show you for chamfer. Let's move on to the stretch command. For the stretch command, let's go ahead and draw a similar shape to what you see here on the screen. It does not have to be perfect, just make it similar. You're going to encounter times when you're drawing in AutoCAD and you need to move some lines up or down, left or right, but you need the entire shape to still stay connected. So for instance, like right now, if I need this top horizontal line to be 1 foot higher than it currently is, I could just grab the line, use the move command, click my base point, move it up, type 1 foot, and then I can grab these lines and move those up, and that would stretch that shape up 1 foot. But let's Control Z to bring it back down. That's a lot of steps, and it takes a lot of time, more time than it should, to actually do that. And that is where the stretch command is going to make this so much easier on you. Less clicks. We always want less clicks. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what lines do I want to move? And what lines do you want to stay attached during the move? So I want this top line to move, right? And I want these two lines to stay attached to that line as I move it up. So let's start the stretch command. You can either use it in the button in the ribbon, or you can type stretch in dynamic input. And what AutoCAD wants to know is what objects are you wanting to stretch. Now I'm going to use a green selection box, and I'm going to position it just like this. So you can see that that top line is entirely inside the green box, and then only a part of the vertical lines are inside of that. You'll notice that the feet of the vertical lines are not inside of this green selection box. That's exactly how I want it. So go ahead and click, and AutoCAD's going to want you to continue selecting objects, so just hit enter to say that you're done selecting. And now it wants to know what base point do you want to use to actually stretch this. So I'm going to click the middle of that horizontal line, click, and then you'll see how that horizontal line attaches to your cursor and how those vertical lines stretch with it. So that's the key to stretch. So if I want to even go up to like 3 feet, I could. I just typed 3 feet, hit enter. You just have to make sure that you move your cursor in the direction that you want the stretch to actually go. So let's try that again. I'm going to do Control Z. Let's move it down. Let's do the first two. Let's do like if we want those two to stretch and we want to keep this one in place. We want the foot of this line to stay in place as well as the foot of this line to stay in place. So I'm going to type stretch, enter, select objects again. Practice with that green selection box, not the blue one. You want the green one. So go ahead and cut through. It's kind of like a slicing tool. You're just showing which corners that you actually want to move upwards. So go ahead and click, hit enter to say you're done selecting. Choose any base point. You can even do off of it if you want to, and you'll see how you can stretch this object. You can even make it stretch in a different direction. And that's all I have for the stretch command. Let's go ahead and move on to the scale command. Last but not least is the scale command. So let's say we have the shape and we actually need to make it twice the size. We need to make it half the size, or we just need to adjust the size in any way. That's what the scale command will do. So like the other commands, you can either select the object first and then initiate the scale command, or initiate the command first and then select objects. But I am a select it all first and then do the scale. You can find the scale up in the ribbon right next to stretch, or you can type SC for scale and hit enter. Now AutoCAD wants us to specify a base point, and you are free to choose whatever you want. I am going to choose the bottom left of this object right here. Go ahead and click, and then as you move your cursor, you'll notice how that whole shape stays together, but the closer I get to the base point, the smaller it gets, and the further away, the larger it gets. La la la! Look at that. Isn't that fantastic? Now you can freehand the size if you want to by just clicking to make it stick, but you can also use a scale factor. A scale factor is kind of hard for me to explain, so instead let me give you the rules and hopefully it kind of makes sense. So if you want to double the size of this shape, move your cursor outwards as little or as far as you want to. Just type 2, enter, and it has doubled the size of that shape. Let's try this again. Let's Control Z. Do the scale command. Again, I'm going to select first and then type SC, enter. Specify your base point. You can even move it slightly. You don't even have to move it a little bit. You just need to get it away from that base point. Let's type 3, enter. Now it's tripled in size. Whoa! So let's Control Z again. I'm going to initiate the scale one more time. This time let's try a different place. Let's try the middle of this top one right here. Click to make it stick, and you can see how it kind of forms the scale from that base point. This time I still moved it out, but I'm going to type 0.5 or 1/2 for half. So 0.5 is usually half of 1. Go ahead and hit enter, and it is now half the size that it originally was. Isn't that kind of crazy? Now, if you typed 1, it would stay exactly the same size. No changes would take place. So a scale factor lets you change the size of the object according to how much bigger or smaller you want it to be from the original size. Now, there is a couple other things that we could do with scale, but for now, I just want you to have the basics, and that was the basics to it. It's pretty simple. In the next video, I'm going to show you the array and offset commands.